coming. We're going to start now. Let's see. So we're going to do an introduction. So this is a spin-off of a group show we did on September 11th at Broward College, South Campus. We had 4 artists in the group show. We had me, Reina Barreto, Jonatas Chimen, and Rachael Kfare. Is that how you say your name? And we were all participating artists in this group show that we were invited to by Jonatas. He had a solo exhibition, and the day before we did like a spin-off. And the title of the show was, hold on, I'm opening up my notes. I'm having technical difficulty. 1 second. Do you remember it by heart, the name of the show?
Oh, well, the title was Madonnas, Memory, and Identity.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I was like, wait, what is it? Yes. So it was in Miami, in Broward, at Broward College. And it was hosted by the Wandering Masters Art Salon, which is a art salon that we founded to encourage performance and art, like community, kind of like in the 19th century days where people get together, artists, curators, collectors, and they just like get together in small pop-up salon styles and kind of create and curate work together. Kind of a very informal environment. So this is our second virtual art show, but we've had a total of two to three other shows in Miami. So it's a happening little salon. So, but this group exhibition, it featured Rachael Kfare, Reina Barreto, Jonatas Chimen, and myself, Dana Blickensderfer, and we showcased a pop-up exhibition at our Art Gallery of Broward College South Campus, and it was centered around conversations of immigration, history, and women. What's unique about this is we had 3 women people in the show and 1 male, so that's just something that's interesting to understand about the dynamics of this group show, and we are the 2 women out of the 3 that showcase this. So today we're kind of doing like a virtual closing reception because we're all from different places in Florida, in the South, and you know, with time and everyone's time and money and opportunities, it's easy sometimes to virtually connect. And it's beautiful to have an environment like virtual reality and VR that we like to use in our conversations as an option to do exhibitions, because it's such an interesting conversation, virtual reality and art right now, and in the future where art's going. So we definitely want to utilize this to our advantage, and we're you know, taking, you know, kind of pioneering and taking the first, you know, trying and testing it and see how it goes. So, but I'm with Reina right now. Say hi, Reina. I don't want to talk all the time, but.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself as an artist, please.
Yes. So I am really new to painting and to following a path as an artist, or a professional path as an artist. So it's been pretty much the last year that I've been working on creating paintings. I do figurative work and symbolic work as a painter. And it's really in a naive style, as people will be able to see when they see the portraits that I did for this show, because I am basically a self-teaching artist. I have not had, you know, art school training, and really limited, you know, attendance in an art class or anything like that. I do have art mentors, and friends, and so they have really been the ones kind of helping me and guiding me and supporting me as I begin this journey. So that's kind of where I'm at right now as an artist, and I hope to keep developing, my painting skills and keep kind of branching out. And what was really nice, and I'm really appreciative of this opportunity to participate in this group show, was that we were really, because of the space, the art gallery space, and because it was already hosting an installation by Jonatas, the requirement was to create an art piece that could not be hung on the walls. It couldn't, so we couldn't just show up with a painting and put it on the wall, and that was part of the show. So we had to think like creatively. We had to kind of be pushed outside of our comfort zone. And so, yeah, that was the first installation piece that I've ever created. And certainly, I would need to, develop it more. But it was a start. So basically, I would say as an artist, I'm starting, I'm learning, and I'm really happy to be part of this group and to know such great artists here in Miami that can serve as mentors and friends and kind of help me become more and more integrated into the art world here. So I'm really appreciative of that. Thank you so much,
We're so happy
Jonatas,
to have you.
and to you and Rachel and other artists as well that have been very helpful.
You made a good point though. This gallery that we're about to show you, a lot of the artwork, because of the experience of a virtual experience, they're going to be on the walls. They're even not, the artwork is not the accurate dimension because of the technology that we're dealing with. So it's not accurate in size, and they're not on the walls because she did bring up a good point that a lot of this was, we were forced to use, you can't use the wall in this show. So, I used a sculpture type experience, like I created a sculpture, and she had her installation kind of coming off the floor into the air. So you'll see it, but that is a good point to make. When that was my first time saying, okay, we're doing an art show, you can't use the walls. I was like, what? Yeah. And I've always wanted to dabble into sculpture and another way of doing a 3D kind of expression. So this was exciting and new for me too. So let me so I'll walk through this gallery. So I'm going through the door. So it's kind of cool. It's like a remote control, so if you get dizzy, I apologize. So as you can see the room, it's like some of the work we're showing today. Pretty cool, right? You can kind of see it all lined up. Okay, yeah. So should I show let me show the video first so everyone can see what we were working with, and then you can understand the concept of where the works were presented, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's this one. Okay, so let me show this really fast. So this is the space of the room we were working in. That's my work.
One word that describes your work tonight. Okay. One word that describes my work tonight is organic.
Oh, so one word that describes my work tonight is ties. The strings.
So that's her word that we're going to talk about.
Mr. Jonatas.
Hey.
What one word describes your work tonight? One word. You get one.
Collaboration.
And that's one of the others, the third artist, Rachel's work. So you guys get an idea of the space. Pretty cool, right? So that's the show of the, so that's like a video I just wanted to show so you guys understand what we did in physical reality and the space that we were dealing with. So now looking at it virtually, obviously the artwork's not to sizing, but when we talk about it, we're gonna, you have an idea of where it was maybe in the space. So Raina, did you like that video?
Yeah,
It's
no,
fun,
I love
right?
it. It came out very, very well.
Okay, cool.
That was to see it all kind of put together and summarized in because we spent hours there, but it was nice to see that kind of summary recap of the show. So yeah, very cool.
Okay, so first we have our eyes on this beauty portrait. So let's hear about it a little bit.
Yeah, so these are all small portraits, like 9 by 12 portraits that I painted. It's basically one family, and that is the mom of the family, Claudia. It's one family, but several generations of that family, and it's a family that's very close to me. It's my husband's family in Olinda, Brazil, in northeastern Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
And so they served as the inspiration for this portrait series, and I hope to, of course, continue developing that. But for now, I started off with them, and like I said, it's really, inspired by someone very close to me and people that, are very close to me in Brazil. And the reason they're all women, so it's like you have the grandmother on the right-hand side, the mother.
Okay, so the one with the green and this one all the way to the right is the grandmother?
The grandmother, right. And
okay,
then
so
her daughter is the one in the blue in the center.
What's her name?
So and her name is Dona Lia. Dona Lia and Donna was, or the title of the exhibit was Madonnas, but I know that like with Jonatas also in his show, he was using the title of Donna. It's basically a title of respect and honor given to somebody, usually an older person in the community, but somebody who's well respected in the community. And in this case, women. And so Dona Lia, my husband's grandmother, she actually was a mother of 10 children, so she had this huge family. And then she was also the director of, she basically started her own school. So she opened, owned, and managed and started her own elementary school in Olinda. And actually,
in Brazil?
Within the family. So Georgie went to that school, and his sister went to that school, and now the grandkids or great-grandkids are going to that school. So it's been a school in the family, for several generations. It's still run by the family, and Georgie's cousins and his aunts are the teachers and the principal, and so it's a family business, is the school, basically, a family enterprise. And so she started all of that and left that legacy to the family. And so she was really the one that was very instrumental for Georgie in two ways. That's my husband, Georgie. Two things that she also left in addition to the school was a love of travel. So that's something that was very important to my husband, was to travel, and he got a degree in tourism. So she was kind of instrumental in getting him to pursue that kind of a degree. And also just, an emphasis on family and keeping the family together. All of those things are important. So she basically left that legacy to the family. And then the daughter is the one in the center, who's Georgie's mom.
The yellow or the blue background?
The kind of greenish background.
Oh, this one?
So that's one of the 10 children that Dona Leah had. And so I guess I should backtrack, and I started talking about why these are all women. And these are all what I felt were very powerful and strong women in a culture that is still, it still has, perhaps you could say, it's a patriarchal culture, like many cultures in Latin America and around the world. And so sometimes you go into a culture and you think, how are women's roles or women's expectations in that culture? What is women's position in that culture today? And what I saw were very, very strong women throughout Brazil, very accomplished, very professional, and working in so many capacities. And so, and what I mean by that is, they were both, the kind of the center of the family at home, but also working professionally outside of the home. So they were wonderful role models, I felt. And Georgie's mom was actually a single mom. So she raised her children and worked at the same time, encouraged them to go through their schooling, all of those things. So these are just very strong, very influential women in my husband's life. He was basically raised by women. And of course, so then his sister is the one with the yellow background, Miami. And
is she in Miami?
Her name is Miami.
Miami. Okay.
Yeah, she's also in Olinda, Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah. So they've all stayed there. Georgie was the only one to leave. And so basically I was looking at these themes of our show, the themes of memory and identity, migration, all of that, through the lens of somebody that's very close to me.
Which is your husband, yeah.
My husband. But, I come from a family of immigrants. My parents also immigrated to this country a while back from Cuba and from Colombia. So I grew up in a family of immigrants. And so it's a topic that's very, very personal as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and emotional in many ways. But I wanted something kind of more recent and contemporary. So right now I started with this family and their experience. And my husband's experience as an immigrant coming to the United States. What I noticed was that a lot of his, I guess I was looking at his identity as an immigrant, and just his identity in general, and seeing it kind of transforming as he now lives, permanently in the United States. And what I saw was that his identity, as far as the Brazilian side of his identity, was very much closely tied to family and to culture. And I think that's true of a lot of immigrants. For my father, my mother, a lot of what kind of kept them going in a way and kept them tied to their country of origin were these family connections and connections to cultural things like music and food and celebrations and things like that. So that's kind of what inspired all of this, and the whole installation itself.
Oh yeah, I have a video too of your work in an installation. Okay, so you guys can see how, as you can see, the people that we're looking at are at the bottom, and then I'll show you the top as she's talking. So
the ribbons are kind of all tying these women that were influential in his life to him as he has traveled north. He still remains very closely tied to his family in Brazil. And the cultural element, you can see, I used a lot of colors, bright colors, the ribbons. It looks kind of festive, kind of carnival-like. And that's because in Brazil,
okay,
yeah, they celebrate Carnival. And in his town of Olinda, Brazil, it's a special kind of carnival. It's not the one that you see in Rio de Janeiro. The people parading in these really exotic costumes and lots of lights and flashing. It's very kind of folkloric, and so what they have are like these giant paper mache figures and heads parading through these cobblestone historic streets. They have a lot of dancing with these umbrellas.
Have you been to a carnival?
And I haven't been during Carnival.
Oh,
no,
you gotta go, right? It's on your list.
Yeah, go. But yeah, so that kind of served as a kind of visual inspiration for me. The idea of the umbrella, all the colors, the ribbons, the kind of festive atmosphere.
Let's lightly shed on the use of the umbrella. Did you mention
Right.
why you chose an umbrella to be like the top?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, it is symbolic, like a lot of the elements in the installation. I like, well, like I said, it kind of was inspired by the multicolored umbrellas that they use during the dances that they do in the streets during Carnival. They use these tiny little umbrellas that are just like that, and they use them as a prop as they dance. And so that's connecting to the culture, but it also is symbolic in that it represents, shelter, protection, and that's something that a family provides for many people. So it connects to the idea of his family, and then also seeking in a new country. Immigrants are often either asylum seekers, they're seeking some kind of shelter, some kind of asylum in their new country, or even if they are not asylum seekers or refugees, they are still always, I think, trying to find something where they can feel comfortable and feel secure in their new country. And so the umbrella kind of symbolizes that. It also acts like a way of unifying the family and unifying the installation. So that's what I was thinking about when I chose that.
No, it's really exciting. I think everything has a purpose, and it's really well curated.
Oh, thank you. And I was thinking, as I was talking about the paper mache figures or big heads that are paraded, and thinking about that as my inspiration, it was cool because you actually have your sculpture. When you talk about that, I think it'll tie into that type of material, right?
Yeah.
Yours as well, yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of all the women that we picked out, and the one that's missing is the husband. But you saw that in the video. No, I think that's great with the culture and the pop colors. And is it mixed media? Is it acrylic or?
It is acrylic. Yes, it is acrylic on a mixed media type paper. Yes.
How long did it take you to curate this concept for the show? Once you knew that we were like doing it.
Yeah, I think it went by pretty quickly. I think we had a couple of weeks to prepare.
Yeah, we had like a month.
Yeah, a few weeks of preparation.
Which person did you do first?
I actually did the little girl on the left was the one I did first. Yeah.
This one?
I mean, I did my husband's portrait first, but of the women there, she was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like her. She's fun. She's a little quirky.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I had never painted, a child before, and so all of these portraits are also a good way for me to develop, painting skills, to test out, trying to paint people in different ways, and faces in particular, which are super interesting. Faces, it's something that I'd like to continue, is just kind of focusing on these kinds of portraits. So if anybody would like to volunteer as a subject for
come into your studio. Yeah, because I'm assuming you looked at pictures, but then you needed forms, so you have other references. In your studio.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yes, I mostly work from photos and things, but of course, there's always the colors are some of their favorite colors that they identify with, and I kind of wanted to portray them also the way I remember them. Of course, I've never met the grandmother, but the other three.
And that's the picture of it all together. Yeah, it was really well done.
Oh, thank you, Dana.
So it kind of goes along with like what I kind of showed in my installation. So let's see. So for mine, it was called the Madonna. Like she said, Donna was in our title, so that was very closely related to the Madonna that I created. So let's see a little bit about what I was showing. I created a multi-sensory installation. So the base was like the bust of a female, and then inside, you know, I projected this heartbeat. So if you got up really close, which was some of the students did, and they got up really close, they could hear the heartbeat and get the, you know, experience of the female. But the thing I wanted to work with and utilize was the neon light. So we weaved it in between the paper mache sculpture, and that created a really unique experience, like the process of making it, because you're dealing with paper mache, which is super fragile, and it's like tube that's tight and strong, and I'm trying to represent like a woman, but she's, you know, vulnerable, and she's strength, you know. So the process was like, it took a long time to put together, but it's actually, it was fun because it's a reflection of the female, like the feminine, you know, going through the ebbs and flows of being vulnerable, being strong, you know, the processes of life. But I'll just read this quick statement. So I symbolized in my intimate connection to my femininity through the use of form and lighting. I use symbolic references of the heart, which you can see on the right, and then I'll show you like a picture of it. As it's a deeper understanding of what contemporary society feels towards women today. I draw a parallel between my personal life, being an entrepreneur and a business owner, and kind of having to be the pillar and the strength for like the company, and you know what I'm doing, I feel in my own personal life to be that strength and pillar. Especially women are more, you know, they play the role of the parent, both the mom and the dad. So that even works in parallel to being in business atmosphere. In any dynamic, you can kind of take away with that. And I also pop culture with the use of the lighting, like the light and the light fixture. So if I show you a video, this is a picture of what it looked like with the light going on, and it's sitting on this pillar, kind of like this like Greek column, and we have an installation of flowers, and the flowers symbolize actually strength and fragility. That's what those I can't remember the name of the flowers off the top of my head, but that's what the use of the flowers were representing. To me, flowers represent women, beauty, femininity. And then I have the painting that's sitting cascading at the bottom left, and that's kind of just an abstract painting that I painted in conversation with the sculpture. So this is cool because, yeah, she was talking about she used paper mache dolls kind of to influence the pop culture of her portraits, and I use paper mache as the base of what I used to create the molding of my sculpture. So that's kind of interesting. I didn't know, like, not until we talked I knew this about what you were doing. So yeah, and then let me see. So basically it's through a wide range of surface work. I alternate between the rough and the smooth process, transparent and delicate, that I'm trying to enhance my ideas about womanhood. You know, we've got the light and the dark, the rough and the smooth, you know, the process of being a woman. But I feel like overall it gave confidence. It eludes confidence and strength and fragility for a woman. So that's kind of what my Madonna is. And I had a lot of fun doing it. It was really challenging because it was my first time not doing a painting, but actually creating a more of a multi-sensory, you know, conversation.
Yeah, no, I like the way you describe the work of, you know, it's also symbolic, but also has these dualities, you know, like you were saying, of kind of fragile and strong, and the smooth and the rough. And
yeah,
I really liked how there's that kind of, you know, interplay of these like different elements.
Yeah, because the paper mache, you're not going to break through that. But the funny thing is, like, I was worried that it would break and like fall into pieces, but at the same time, like, that sucker's not breaking. So like one of the people, and you know, with any installation, you gotta be prepared for malfunction. One of the girls went up to it and leaned too close, and like the thing fell. Remember?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, oh, it's okay. So I just like put it back
Oh,
together and just stuck it up, hoping that would stay. It's still standing strong in my house right now, you know.
oh,
So
well,
yeah, so it was an awesome experience, and I'm really glad that we were forced to be in this type of environment where we use different sensories and um, ways to think and, you know, create work that
yes,
meant for a greater purpose. And you know, with the topics of women and everything that's going on in the news right now, you know, this
yes,
is definitely in a good conversation to have, you know, both past and present. You know, Jonatas's work talked a lot about memory and his ancestry and immigration. And do you know a little bit about Rachel's work that you could talk about?
So I don't know if we can show a picture of the
Yeah,
sculpture she did there. Um,
let's see.
Let's see. That's my work tonight is working.
Let's see where it
yeah.
is. I think I showed it
And
later.
I think she mentioned organic as her
Yeah, this
keyword
is
there.
her
And
keyword.
it did have that kind of, yeah, a kind of shade to it. And I believe she said she had created that block and then chipped away at it to
Oh,
you know,
she did? It was a block originally?
I believe, I'm speaking for her right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
so she might want to correct me later on, but if I remember correctly, that's what she did. Yeah. So in other words, it's not an assembly. It's more of a like a
A chipping away, like a
yes. What I know there's probably a better word for that, but yeah, yeah,
that kind of speaks some has a good conversation with my work because it like the pillar is very I created it to be very weathered, and then the paper
yeah,
mache is weathered over time. Like that thing's not gonna last. That has a shelf life, you know. And
hmm
then the paper mache already has its holes. So we all really, without you know, doing a group show is challenging, and curating it and having you know Jonatas leaded kind of the curation because it was his location and solo exhibition that we joined in on. So I think it was really well, like everyone really spoke and had a good, you know, had a relatable conversation to each other. I surprisingly, and everyone's work's so different.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's very neat to see that. And I mean, when you were talking about the rough and the smooth and the kind of the fragile and the strong, I mean, you can kind of you can see that in this sculpture as well. I don't know if people can see that out of that kind of mouth of that fish figure. There's a like what would be a fish net, and it's
Oh
kind
yeah.
of coming out of the mouth of the fish there, and it's very soft and ephemeral and
Let's see.
beautiful.
Oh
So
yeah, on the left. You see it on the
kind of
left right here?
there, right, right. And I like that there's a lot of movement in that sculpture. The way it's got the rounded part, and it's kind of so you get a sense almost that the fish is in movement, and even though it is a very it's a sculpture, it's static, but it seems like there's a lot of movement, and also with the fishnet kind of gives the effect as well of movement and floating.
Yeah, it feels like it keeps going. She did a really great job.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, it's a nice contrast also, like your work and my work and Jonatas's work is very colorful. We use a lot of color, a lot of symbolism, and it was nice to have this kind of as a contrast, just visually, where it's all in white.
Yeah.
So it's kind of very, very stunning, to see that
And like
amidst all the
it's like you can breathe.
exactly,
Yeah, like a
exactly.
resting place for your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, yeah,
And
yeah. So
then
yeah, it
you
was
also
really
you wrote about, so tell us a little bit about yourself as a writer. And then you know you also, not that you're speaking for Jonatas, but you wrote about his work. So maybe you can give us a little bit of like his installation and his in a few a few minutes. Doesn't have to be elaborate, but
Sure. So yeah, my
also
background
sort of.
is academic. I also taught at a community college for many years in Washington State, and I have a PhD in Latin American literature from Florida State University. And so there's another side to me, which is the scholar and the writer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually through doing that kind of research on writers from Latin America, on artists from Latin America, that I became so I had this strong desire to be able to create myself after reading about and spending so much time researching and reading and writing about people creating. So it kind of led me to the path that I'm on right now. But yes, I had the privilege of being able to attend the process that Jonatas went through while he was installing his installation, while he was creating this. I was able to visit the gallery there and listen to him talk about his process, about the story behind his work. And so I became very, inspired to write about it as well. So I ended up writing an academic article, and it's currently under review at a journal at Florida International University. The journal focuses specifically on the cultural themes related to crypto-Jewish identity. And this would be in history, it would relate to the time of the Spanish Inquisition and Portuguese Inquisition, when Jews were expelled from Spain. And so Jonatas's, family background, his family history relates to that history of the expulsion of Jews from Spain and Portugal back in the late 1400s, early 1500s, and then it went on for several centuries in the Americas as well, in Brazil and throughout Latin America. So what's really interesting about his work is how he is able to tie together these two stories, the history, the larger historical context, with his own personal family history. And so, throughout his exhibit, there's a lot of also symbolism, a lot of references to this historical time period of the Spanish Inquisition, and then all the history of migration that happened with his family and with many, many families after that. For example, the number 5 is very important in his installation work. There are 5 paintings that he used. There are 5 stages that he talks about in his work and in this particular installation, beginning with exile and ending with redemption at the end. So all of these are very, very important historically, very highly symbolic elements in his work, very closely tied to the experience of an immigrant, to the experience of somebody that has been exiled. And so it's a fascinating work that he's done there, because it ties together all this history. It ties together the world, really, an experience that has never ended. And that's one of he has a lot of writing also on the tent right there. Perfect. You can see the writing that he did on the actual installation tent that he created. And there's so many interesting phrases on there and words, but one of them is 1492 never ends. And so it is the idea that, this experience of being exiled, of being singled out as a group, of being mistreated, of being just treated as marginal, as a group that's not not welcome in a place. I mean, that we see today. And so that's exactly what you were saying, Dana, about this kind of being a very relevant type of show today, because right now in our context here, living in the United States, we're experiencing exactly this kind of treatment and attitude towards immigrants, towards the other, somebody who might be different, or that's not that maybe we don't belong to the same types of group or experience, and so therefore there's a lot of suspicion and just stereotypes and misinterpretations of people from other cultures, people that come from other countries. And so that's what he was doing. I mean, it goes back to 1492, like he says there, but we can see it today, and many of us that come from families of immigrants, have experienced a lot of that same type of, attitude and negativity surrounding the condition of being an immigrant.
No, yeah, it was when you walk in, it's very overwhelming. Like, he did a great job of, when you're in it, you're very, like, involved in the moment and involved in, he had visually, you heard, you hear some people crying, and you hear the water of the traveling, you hear the process of the immigration process through the audibly, as well as you can go into a tent, and the tent represents like safety, or does it represent, is that what that represented again?
Yeah, I mean, I think the tent it's definitely symbolic of a shelter.
Yeah, like a covering for your...
Cathedral is the title of it. So Refugee Cathedral, it indicates, well, a place of refuge for the refugee. But it was also, Jonatas's intention was to, as you go inside the tent structure, because you can go inside and it's like a labyrinth made of, just cloth, white cloth, and you go inside, and then you go in, and then you see some screens, some TV screens that are playing a performance video piece that he did as well. Actually, two different pieces that he did, and what he wanted is for the viewer to essentially have kind of a moment of paying homage to the immigrant and to the refugee. So it's a moment where you
a moment of silence, of respect.
Exactly right. So it is like, yes, honoring the refugees is ultimately what it is inside there.
Yeah, he's closing the exhibition this weekend, and we are lucky enough to do like a virtual closing reception. We all had to go back to our locations, but it was amazing to have like a pop-up reception group exhibition right before his reception. So, we were very welcomed at Broward College. Like, everyone there was very welcoming. We got really good feedback from the students, just being in the moment and asking a lot of questions. So, and I know his opening reception, I'm not sure if you went, but he had like a couple hundred people.
Yes, actually, yeah, I did go, and yes, it was very well attended. It was a wonderful event. In addition to students, there were people from the community there, other artists, other professors at the college. So it was it was very, very nice event.
Yeah. So, I think between all of the four artists, I think we curated a really great show, and I just wanted, these are always good because it's always good to talk about the process and talk about what we did, because it's also, as an artist, it helps us process more thoroughly what we subconsciously may have created. And that's, any process with being an artist and being creative is sometimes it's, maybe more subconscious, then everything has a symbolism, but it's also good to be aware and attuned to, every decision you make when you're creating work, to make it more accurate, and strive to relay your message and use the right materials. That's just, developing into an artist over your journey. So, I also had an experience where, like, I did a podcast, and, I'm putting that out soon, but I interviewed Jonatas later the next day, and he talked about, I said to him, do you have to be a successful artist, you really need your master's, right? And we talked about that stereotype, and, we don't believe that's true. I don't either, because, you know, I feel like society puts certificates and, oh, do they have a certificate? Then they must be credible. You know, it doesn't mean they're credible. You know, but of course I respect the institutions, but I'm just saying, you know, to make it in a career, you don't necessarily need a degree anymore. You just need, you know, to be mentored and be in the environment, to study and research and be self-educated yourself, and, you know, to really strive to know and learn everything and live and breathe yourself. And you can do it on your own. You can be with the right mentors, and volunteer, and, you know, try all these different materials and research to like get to to advance as an artist. That's what masters and doing that in institutions help you do faster. So they're always good because it advances you faster if you're not able to, like, you know, push yourself and motivate yourself, you know, on your own. But, you know, I asked that question, and in the beginning you said, oh, I'm a self-taught artist, which, you know, that's not negative. People, you know, just like immigration and, oh, you're an immigrant, like, you know, I like to just, you know, society norms is just so wrong. The way society, you know, perceives things, and being a self-taught artist is wonderful because you've discovered that you love a certain material, that you love a certain conversation, you're pushing yourself to it. Originally, you know, I was self-taught, and I only went to school for a few years. It doesn't make me a master of many, you know, but it does advance my career, and, you know, that's, I think, what we're all trying to do.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. And it's wonderful. I really enjoyed being a part of this group, and really being able to collaborate. And that's essentially, I mean, it's self-teaching, but also my teachers are you guys, you know,
and vice versa.
Are my mentors and other artists. Yeah.
And vice versa, I agree. Like, we're all learning from each other, and, like, the way you curated, like, it gives us all ideas, and it sparks that aha moment that, you know, we need to grow. And, you know, I really, you know, I don't like competition, and I think that's why we founded the Wandering Masters Art Salon, because I feel like, you know, we all can grow together, and we're all so different, and no one's you, like, no one's me, and we can all, like, rise together and in life, and in flourishing in art. And, you know, so that's what the Wandering Masters Art Salon is intended to do. It's supposed to collaborate with other artists and advance our careers together, because it's better to do it in a group than, like, do it by yourself. I've learned that the hard way. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we plan to do another salon with this group, you know, maybe around Art Basel would make sense. You know, we're still talking about it, but this is just one of the group shows we did with the salon, and it was such a good experience, and we really, really were bummed we couldn't do a closing reception in person, but we're so grateful that we have technology to be able to do a virtual exhibition, which makes this made it harder, because I was like, well, how do I project a sculpture, you know? So, and this is where the future is going, through technology and experiencing these art shows online. And, you know, all of this works for sale. You know, in the bottom I'll put the descriptions of where you can reach the artists, like where you can contact Reina, where you can contact myself if you have any questions. But, like, just like an art gallery, you would go and get wine and cheese. Like, it's exactly this kind of experience we want you to relate to, because I feel like that's the future, and that's why I want to do these experiences with you guys. So, you know, I hope you had fun, because it was good. We don't have any comments. It is a Sunday afternoon, but we had some views, and then this will be up all week, and then we'll replay it on our channel. So, you know, if you guys have any questions, I'll put an email in the bio where you can ask. But, you know, thank you so much, Reina, for your time today.
Oh, thank you, Dana. It was so much fun to chat with you and kind of be able to revisit. And even with this process, I felt like I learned as well, just kind of discussing it with you.
Yeah, because, like, doesn't it help? Like, take the time to talk about it again. It's like we're in art school.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're creating our own, you know, our own ways of doing that. And if we're not at an art school, we're still creating that kind of environment of communication, discussion, questions, answers, and learning from each other. So Yeah, it's really wonderful. I'm just really, and I'm impressed actually with this platform. It's
Yeah, it's
really
on.
cool.
Yeah, I think, and
And
then you can get really, you can get up to it, you can like zoom in on it, like you get so close, but I can't, though there's some, I'm making notes for some glitches because I can't like zoom up or down like a person,
oh, right,
and then you
yeah,
can't like, you know, it's not to scale, but you know, we'll figure out a platform that will make it happen in all aspects eventually. So,
yeah, yeah. So thank you so much, Dana, and
thank
thank
you.
you again
Oh, and then
for
just let everyone
having.
know where they can follow you on social media and your website.
Sure. Yes, yes. I have. I'm on Instagram, and I'm still developing a lot of my social media sites and website and all of that. It is a work in progress, as you, I'm sure, know. All of this is
Every
so.
day.
Yeah, yeah.
God willing, we make another day. We create and keep going.
Exactly, exactly. Yes,
All
yeah.
right.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'll also put your info in the bio when we upload this online. So you know, I'll get that from you later. But thank you, and thank you everyone who tuned in. And you guys have the week to watch it. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
All
Thank you,
right.
everyone.